I keep thinking about this whole Willow situation on General Hospital, and honestly, it gets messier the more I sit with it. At first, the story looks simple. Willow, the soft-spoken teacher type. Willow, the gentle mother. Willow, the woman who always seemed like she was trying to do the right thing even when life shoved her in the wrong direction. That version of Willow used to exist, and maybe it still exists somewhere. I don't know. But lately, it feels like the show has been quietly peeling back layers, and underneath all that kindness, there is something else. Something darker. Something calculating. And now the spoilers hint that Charlotte might be the one who accidentally exposed everything. Which is ironic, messy, chaotic, and honestly kind of perfect for this town. Because let's be honest, Port Charles runs on secrets, and Willow has accumulated a lot of them. Some fans still defend Willow. They say she has been manipulated. They say she is under pressure. They say Sidwell is the real villain here. And yeah, sure, Sidwell is absolutely a villain. No doubt about that. But pretending Willow is innocent at this point feels like ignoring the elephant sitting in the middle of the room. A very large elephant. One that keeps knocking over furniture. The spoilers tease that Charlotte is going to make a discovery soon. Something big. Something tied directly to Willow's storyline. And when you look at the current situation, it almost seems inevitable that Charlotte would be the one to stumble into it. Not because she is searching for justice or truth. Charlotte isn't exactly on a noble quest right now. She is hurt, confused, angry. Those emotions lead people into strange places. And Charlotte has been wandering lately. Not physically only, and emotionally too. So imagine this scene. Charlotte somewhere quiet in town, maybe a hallway, maybe outside a building, maybe just hiding around a corner because she doesn't want to run into certain people. And then voices, Willow, Sidwell, a conversation not meant for anyone else. The kind of conversation that should stay buried. The kind people whisper when they believe they are safe. Except they are not safe. Charlotte hears everything. And what she hears would probably change how she sees Willow forever. Sidwell is not gentle in this conversation. That much seems clear from the spoilers. He reminds Willow that she owes him. He reminds her what he already did for her. Specifically Drew. Drew's stroke. That event that shocked the town and left everyone scrambling. Sidwell basically makes it clear that he helped engineer that disaster. And he did it for Willow's benefit. That alone is chilling if you really think about it. Because it means Willow allowed something horrific to happen. Maybe she didn't directly order it. Maybe she convinced herself she wasn't responsible. People do that all the time. They draw little mental lines so they can sleep at night. But Sidwell isn't interested in those little comforting lies. He says it plainly. I helped you remove Drew from the board so you could take his place. And that is where his demand becomes obvious. Sidwell wants Willow to become the replacement senator. He wants her in power, but not truly in power. More like a puppet sitting in a nice chair while he pulls the strings behind the curtain. That part of the story fascinates me. Honestly, Willow going from teacher to political figure already felt sudden, but now it looks less like ambition and more like manipulation mixed with quiet greed. Maybe Willow started believing she deserved that position. Maybe she convinced herself she could do good from that seat. Or maybe power just tastes good once you sample it. Sidwell doesn't care about her reasons. He only cares about control. So he warns her. Listen to me. Do what I say. Because if you don't, I can destroy you the same way I destroyed Drew. That is basically the message. Not said politely. Not wrapped in pretty language. Just cold truth. And Charlotte hears it. Imagine being Charlotte in that moment. Hidden. Listening. Trying to process everything. Willow, the sweet woman everyone defends. Willow, involved in something that dark. It would sound unbelievable. Except Sidwell sounds confident, and Willow doesn't deny enough. That silence alone can say a lot. This is where Charlotte's story collides with Willow's in a messy, unpredictable way. Because Charlotte is already angry at Nina. Actually, angry might be too small a word. Charlotte feels betrayed. She feels abandoned. She feels like someone she should have been able to trust turned against her father. That is the narrative playing in Charlotte's head right now. Whether it is true or not doesn't even matter at this stage. Perception becomes reality when emotions run high. Charlotte believes Nina betrayed Valentine. She believes Nina told Brennan where Valentine was hiding. And that belief got reinforced when Valentine suddenly disappeared from Carly's attic. No warning. No goodbye. Just gone. Think about how that looks from Charlotte's perspective. Her father hiding quietly in Carly's attic, a secret known only by a few people. Then suddenly he vanishes after Brennan gets close to discovering him. Charlotte isn't told the truth. Nobody explains that Jason and Jocelyn forced Valentine to leave. Everyone keeps quiet to protect the bigger situation. But silence creates space for assumptions. And Charlotte fills that silence with the worst possible interpretation. She decides Nina must have told Brennan. Nina must have been the informant. Nina must have betrayed Valentine, which forced him to run again. And because Valentine left so quickly, Charlotte never got a real goodbye. That wound sits deep. Deeper than most adults probably realize. So Charlotte starts seeing Nina as the enemy. Now combine that anger with what she overhears about Willow. Willow happens to be Nina's daughter. That connection suddenly becomes very important. Charlotte might not care about justice. She might not even care about exposing corruption in politics. What she cares about is hurting Nina the same way she believes Nina hurt her. And what better way to hurt Nina than destroying Willow? That thought probably forms quickly in Charlotte's mind. Not slowly, not carefully. Anger tends to move fast. One moment you are listening. The next moment a plan begins forming. Messy. Emotional. But very real. Charlotte knows something explosive now. Something that could ruin Willow completely. If the police learned about Willow's involvement with Sidwell, if people learned she benefited from Drew's stroke, if they realized she might be stepping into a Senate seat under criminal manipulation, that is the end of Willow's reputation, her career, probably her freedom too. Prison would become a real possibility, and Charlotte knows Nina would suffer watching that happen. That is the key point here. Charlotte doesn't even need to target Nina directly. She just needs to push the right domino. Willow falls. Nina collapses emotionally right after. It is revenge by proxy. There is something tragic about that. Because Charlotte isn't actually evil. She is a kid carrying too much confusion, too much anger. She believes she is defending her father in some twisted way. She believes she is punishing betrayal. But the truth is more complicated than that. Nina might not be guilty of what Charlotte thinks. In fact, the entire misunderstanding could explode later and leave Charlotte devastated when the real story comes out. Still, the damage might already be done by then. I can imagine Charlotte wrestling with the decision for a little while, maybe pacing, maybe replaying the conversation in her head. Did she hear correctly? Did Sidwell really say those things? Did Willow actually go along with it? The memory would loop again and again. Eventually, anger wins. Charlotte decides the truth needs to come out, not for justice exactly, more like vengeance disguised as truth. And once she decides that there is really no stopping the avalanche, she could go to the police, she could tell someone in town, she could leak the information in a messy, uncontrolled way. Charlotte isn't exactly known for careful strategy. Sometimes she just acts. And when she acts, things tend to explode. The fallout would be enormous. Willow getting exposed publicly would send shockwaves through Port Charles. People who defended her would feel stupid. People who distrusted her would feel validated. Political allies would run away fast. The Senate position would evaporate overnight. But the emotional consequences might be even bigger. Nina watching her daughter's life collapse. That would be brutal. Even if Willow made terrible choices, Nina still loves her. That kind of maternal pain doesn't disappear just because someone made mistakes. And Charlotte might watch Nina suffer and think she achieved justice. At least at first. Later though, when the truth about Valentine's disappearance comes out, when Charlotte realizes Nina wasn't the one who betrayed him, that realization could hit like a truck. Suddenly the revenge looks pointless. Cruel even. But by then, Willow's secrets would already be public. Which brings me to Willow herself. Part of me wonders how deep her involvement with Sidwell actually goes. Did she slowly slide into this arrangement one step at a time? Or did she know from the beginning that she was dealing with a dangerous man and still chose to continue? People love to say Willow was manipulated. Maybe she was. Sidwell clearly knows how to pressure people, but there is also a pattern here. Willow benefiting from terrible events. Staying quiet. Accepting the advantages. That isn't pure innocence. At some point, responsibility enters the picture. And honestly, Port Charles has a long history of characters pretending they had no choice when they absolutely had choices. Willow might be another example of that messy moral gray area. Not a cartoon villain, but not a victim either. Something in between. Charlotte exposing her crimes would force everyone to confront that reality. And weirdly enough, Charlotte might become an accidental whistleblower even though her motivation is revenge. That happens sometimes in soap stories. Truth comes out for the wrong reasons. The town learns who Willow really is. The polished image cracks. People see the ambition, the compromises, the dangerous alliances. Not pretty. Still, I can't shake the feeling that the real tragedy of this storyline isn't just Willow's downfall. It is Charlotte being pushed into a situation where revenge feels like the only language she has left. If the adults around her had been honest earlier, if someone had explained Valentine's departure, if Charlotte didn't feel abandoned and betrayed, maybe none of this would happen. But secrets pile up in Port Charles like snow in winter. Eventually the weight becomes too much. Charlotte overhears one conversation, one moment of truth slipping through the cracks, and suddenly everything starts collapsing. So, yes, Willow might finally be exposed as manipulative and cruel. Her crimes dragged into the light for everyone to see. That part might actually be necessary. The town deserves to know who they are dealing with. But the path to that truth? Wow, it is messy, painful, full of misunderstandings. Charlotte thinks she is punishing Nina. Instead, she might be lighting a fuse that blows up half the town. And honestly, that feels exactly like the kind of chaos General Hospital thrives on.